I still remember the crisp air of early autumn when my father, Mr. Robert Davis, passed away. It was a sudden heart attack during his routine game of golf, and the shock of it left our family reeling. I'm Clara Davis, 45 years old, a marketing manager by profession, married with 2 children. My life, which had always seemed so orderly, now felt like it was spiraling out of control. Dad had been a successful real estate developer in Austin, Texas. His success afforded him a lavish lifestyle and, naturally, a significant estate. The day after the funeral, our home was filled with people offering their condolences. My mother, Margaret, was especially overwhelmed. She had been Dad's rock, his partner in everything. It was up to me to step in and help her navigate through this difficult time. My half-sister, Lisa, had never been someone I got along with well. Lisa, in her late 40s, had always been a source of trouble for our family. Her reckless behavior and constant need for financial assistance had strained our parents' patience over the years. Despite being older than me, Lisa had never settled into a stable career or life. Her latest venture, marrying Ryan Parker, a younger man known for his laziness and opportunistic nature, seemed to be just another chapter in her cycle of poor decisions. The day after the funeral, Lisa and Ryan barged into the living room with an air of confidence. Lisa had this smile on her face, the kind that suggested she was about to make a grand announcement. Ryan, lounging casually beside her, looked more interested in what was on TV than in the proceedings. "Clara, Mom," Lisa said, her voice dripping with faux cheerfulness. "Ryan and I were just discussing how Dad's estate should be divided. We think, given that I'm the oldest, it would be only fair if I received everything. After all, we could really use the money." I stared at her, my mind racing. "Everything?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "You mean the entire $6 million and the stocks?" "Exactly," Ryan chimed in, grinning broadly. "With all the investments Dad had, that should be more than enough to set us up for life." Mom, who had been silent, looked at Lisa with a mixture of disbelief and exhaustion. "Is this really what you think, Lisa? We don't even know what's in the will yet." "Oh, come on," Lisa said dismissively. "We've been through this before. Dad always favored me. It's only logical that he'd leave everything to me. Besides, Ryan and I need this. We have plans, you know." Before I could respond, the lawyer handling Dad's estate arrived, carrying a stack of documents. The atmosphere in the room shifted from casual to tense. The lawyer, Mr. Thompson, was a stern man in his mid-50s, known for his no-nonsense approach. He cleared his throat and began. "Thank you all for gathering. I'm here to read Mr. Davis's will." He pulled out a document and began to read aloud, his voice steady and formal. "To my daughter Clara Davis, I leave the sum of $6 million and all associated stocks. To my wife Margaret Davis, I leave the remainder of the estate, including the family home and other assets. Lisa Davis, my eldest child, is not mentioned in the will." Lisa's face fell as the lawyer continued reading. "Not mentioned? What does that mean?" she asked, her voice rising in agitation. Mr. Thompson looked up from his papers. "Lisa Davis is not Mr. Davis's biological child. There was no legal adoption either." The room fell silent. I glanced at Lisa, who looked as though she'd been slapped. Her husband, Ryan, shifted uncomfortably beside her, his face growing red with anger. Lisa's mouth moved, but no words came out. She was stunned, unable to process the shocking revelation. "What do you mean, not his biological child?" Lisa demanded, her voice trembling. "Dad always said I was his daughter. This can't be right." Mr. Thompson maintained his composure. Mr. Davis had intended to adopt Lisa. However, due to her continual irresponsible behavior and her disregard for her younger half-brother, he chose not to proceed with the adoption. Therefore, she is not entitled to any part of the inheritance. Lisa's face flushed with a mix of anger and disbelief. So, all of this, she gestured around the room, is just going to Clara and Mom? Yes, Mr. Thompson confirmed. The inheritance, as stipulated in the will, is legally given to Clara and Margaret. Ryan's face darkened as he glared at me. This is ridiculous, he muttered. You and your mother don't deserve this money. Lisa and I have been struggling, and now we're left with nothing. Mom's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Lisa. I didn't know about this, she said softly. We should have talked about this long ago. Lisa, realizing the gravity of her situation, turned to me with a look of pure desperation. Clara, you have to help us. We need this money. We were counting on it. I shook my head, my mind reeling from the shock. Lisa, you knew the risks. Dad had always been clear about his expectations. You've made choices that led us to this point. Lisa's frustration boiled over, and she stormed out of the room, followed by Ryan, who glared at me one last time before leaving. The tension in the room was palpable, and I knew that this was only the beginning of the fallout from Dad's will. The days following the reading of Dad's will were filled with tension and uncertainty. Lisa and Ryan's reactions to the inheritance news had been anything but pleasant. Despite their attempts to mask it, their frustration and desperation were evident, and it wasn't long before their true intentions started to surface. Mom and I were trying to keep things together, but the atmosphere at home was fraught with stress. I found myself spending more time at work to escape the chaos, and even then, my thoughts constantly drifted back to the unfolding drama with Lisa and Ryan. One chilly morning, I was at the office when my phone buzzed with a message from Mom. Lisa and Ryan are here. They want to talk. I sighed, knowing this was not going to be a friendly visit. I made my way to the family home, bracing myself for another confrontation. When I arrived, Lisa and Ryan were already there, seated in the living room with an air of defiance. Mom was standing nearby, looking weary. Clara, thanks for coming, Lisa said, her voice tight with barely contained anger. We need to discuss what's going to happen next. I took a deep breath. Lisa, I don't see what else there is to discuss. The will is clear. Dad's decision was final. Lisa's eyes flashed with frustration. It's not fair. Dad knew we were counting on that money. Ryan and I have plans, and now you and Mom are just going to take it all. Ryan leaned forward, his expression dark and calculating. We're not giving up on this. There must be a way to challenge the will. I felt a pang of concern. Challenging the will? How do you plan to do that? Ryan smirked. There are legal avenues we can explore. We're going to contest the will on the grounds of undue influence and argue that Dad's decision was made under pressure or without full consideration of his family. Lisa nodded vigorously. Yes, we'll fight this. We won't let you two walk away with everything. Mom looked horrified. You're talking about a legal battle. This could get very messy. Ryan shrugged. We're prepared to do whatever it takes. We've already started consulting with a lawyer. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Lisa and Ryan's actions were clearly driven by desperation. I was starting to see just how far they were willing to go to get what they wanted. Over the next few weeks, the atmosphere became increasingly charged. Lisa and Ryan's attempts to challenge the will turned our lives upside down. They filed a formal contestation, claiming that Dad's decision had been influenced by his health and that he had been unfair in his distribution of assets. Their accusations were baseless, but their persistence was relentless. One evening, as I was leaving work, I noticed Ryan's car parked outside. I felt a shiver run down my spine. The man had already shown his aggressive side, and I had no idea what he might do next. I decided to confront him. Ryan, I said, approaching him with a steely gaze, what exactly do you think you're going to achieve by all this? He looked up from his phone, his expression unreadable. We're doing what we have to do. We're not going to let you and Mom take everything. Lisa needs this money. We both do. I shook my head, trying to stay calm. You know, Ryan, there's a difference between fighting for what's fair and outright greed. This is beyond what's reasonable. Ryan's eyes hardened. You don't understand. This isn't just about money for us. It's about our future. If we lose this, we lose everything. Before I could respond, Lisa arrived, her face set in a determined expression. Clara, we're not giving up. If you're not going to help us, then we'll find another way. I knew that their actions were driven by more than just financial need. They had made a lifestyle out of dependence and manipulation, and now their plans were unraveling. I felt a pang of sympathy, but it was overshadowed by the realization of just how destructive their greed had become. The situation escalated when Lisa and Ryan's lawyer, a man named Mr. Caldwell, started making public accusations about Dad's will. The media picked up on the story, and soon our family was under the scrutiny of reporters and gossip columns. The invasion of our private lives added another layer of stress to an already difficult situation. One day, as I was walking to the hospital to visit Mom, I saw Ryan's car again, this time parked ominously near the hospital entrance. I felt a growing sense of unease. My phone buzzed with a message from Mom, warning me that Lisa and Ryan had been causing a scene in the hospital lobby. I rushed inside, my heart pounding. As I approached the lobby, I saw Lisa standing by the reception desk, shouting at anyone who came close. Ryan was beside her, trying to calm her down but looking just as agitated. Clara, Lisa called out as she spotted me. You need to get your mother to change her mind. She's the only one who can fix this. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. Lisa, this isn't the place for this. We need to handle this matter through the proper legal channels. Lisa's eyes were wild with frustration. I'm done playing by the rules. We're fighting for what's ours. As tensions reached a boiling point, it was clear that Lisa and Ryan were no longer thinking rationally. Their desperation was driving them to extreme measures, and I couldn't help but worry about how far they would go to get what they believed they deserved. The weeks dragged on, filled with endless legal battles and mounting stress. Lisa and Ryan's relentless pursuit of the inheritance was causing chaos, not just for Mom and me, but for everyone who crossed their path. Their aggressive tactics were taking a toll on our family, and their desperation was starting to become more alarming. One Friday evening, after a particularly grueling week, I decided to stop by the house to check on Mom. I arrived to find her sitting in the living room, looking tired and frazzled. The constant strain was evident on her face. Mom, how are you holding up? I asked, taking a seat beside her. She sighed heavily. It's been overwhelming, Clara. Lisa and Ryan won't stop. They've even started spreading rumors about our family. I shook my head, frustration bubbling up. I know. They're making this whole situation worse. They've been spreading lies, trying to turn people against us. Mom's eyes were filled with worry. What if they do something drastic? I'm afraid of what they might do next. Her fear wasn't unfounded. Lisa and Ryan were becoming increasingly unpredictable, their actions driven by a mix of greed and desperation. The situation escalated further when Ryan took a more direct approach. One afternoon, as I was driving home from work, I saw Ryan's car parked suspiciously near our driveway. A chill ran down my spine. I parked my car and approached the house cautiously, only to find Ryan waiting at the door. Clara, he said, his tone dangerously calm, I need to talk to you. I tried to keep my voice steady. What is it, Ryan? He glanced around, making sure no one was watching. I've had enough of this nonsense. You and your mother are ruining our lives. Before I could respond, Ryan's eyes narrowed. You know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get what we deserve. If that means taking matters into our own hands, then so be it. I felt a surge of alarm. Are you threatening me? Ryan's expression hardened. I'm just saying that we're not going to sit back and let you take everything. We're prepared to fight, no matter what. I took a step back, my heart racing. Ryan, you need to stop. This is getting out of hand. Ryan didn't say anything further, but his silence was more menacing than words. I quickly retreated inside, locking the door behind me. My mind was racing with the implications of his threats. Later that week, while I was at the hospital visiting Mom, the tension reached a breaking point. Lisa had been waiting for me in the hospital lobby, her face a mask of anger and frustration. "Clara, we need to talk," she snapped as soon as she saw me. I tried to stay calm. "Lisa, not here. This isn't the place." Lisa ignored me and continued, her voice rising. "I've had enough of your attitude. You think you can just push us aside and take everything. You don't understand what this means to us." Before I could respond, Lisa's eyes flashed with fury. "If you won't help us, then we'll find another way. We're not giving up." I attempted to defuse the situation. "Lisa, there's no need for this. We should be focusing on resolving this matter legally." But Lisa wasn't listening. Her frustration boiled over, and she made a lunge toward me. The hospital staff intervened quickly, pulling Lisa away before she could reach me. The scene was chaotic, and the commotion drew attention from other patients and staff. Seeing Lisa's outburst and realizing the danger Ryan posed, I knew we were in a precarious situation. Lisa and Ryan were no longer just fighting for money. Their actions were becoming increasingly reckless and violent. Their sense of entitlement had driven them to extreme measures, and I was left wondering just how far they would go. As the situation spiraled, I found myself grappling with a mix of fear and resolve. I knew that the only way to handle this was to stay calm, focus on the legal process, and protect Mom from further harm. But with Lisa and Ryan growing more desperate by the day, I couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get even more dangerous. The tension reached its peak in the weeks following the altercation at the hospital. Lisa and Ryan's desperation had reached a new level, and their actions were becoming increasingly erratic. It was clear they were willing to go to any lengths to secure their share of the inheritance. One particularly frightening evening, I received a call from the police. They informed me that Ryan had been caught trying to run me over with his car. The incident happened as I was leaving the grocery store. Fortunately, I had managed to evade him, but the situation was more than unsettling. The police were clear. Ryan faced serious charges for his attempted assault. The news spread quickly, and Ryan's criminal behavior further isolated Lisa and him from the community. They were no longer just seen as greedy and entitled, but also dangerous. I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. Relief that the threat was being addressed, but sorrow for how our family had been torn apart by greed and deceit. Mom was distraught. She had hoped that the situation would improve, but now she had to cope with the reality of having her family name tainted by Ryan's actions. Lisa, meanwhile, was struggling to come to terms with the situation. Her attempts to challenge the will had failed, and the legal battles were not in her favor. As her sense of entitlement clashed with reality, she became more isolated. Friends and acquaintances, once sympathetic to her plight, began to distance themselves. One evening, Lisa showed up at our front door, looking disheveled and desperate. She pleaded with me, her voice trembling. "Clara, I need your help. I can't deal with this anymore. Everything's falling apart." I looked at her with a mix of pity and resolve. "Lisa, it's too late for that. The inheritance was never yours to begin with. You've made choices that have led to this point. I can't help you now." Tears streamed down her face. I thought that if I fought hard enough, I'd get what I deserved. Her pleas were heartbreaking, but I couldn't ignore the damage she and Ryan had caused. I closed the door, feeling the weight of the situation. As time passed, the dust settled. Ryan faced legal consequences for his actions, and Lisa was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She had lost not only the potential inheritance, but also her place in the community and her relationship with the family. Her life was now a stark contrast to what it could have been if she had approached the situation differently. Mom and I slowly began to rebuild our lives. The inheritance, which had once seemed like a curse, now served as a reminder of the importance of integrity and hard work. I focused on my career, taking satisfaction in my achievements and the modest dividends from Dad's stocks. Looking back, the ordeal was a painful reminder of how greed and entitlement can lead to destruction. The family that had been torn apart by these traits was slowly mending, but the scars of the experience remained. I hope that, in time, Lisa and Ryan will come to terms with their actions and find a way to rebuild their lives. As for me, I've learned valuable lessons about resilience and the true meaning of family. Despite everything, I am grateful for the support I received and the strength I found within myself. The story of our family's turmoil is a reminder that honesty and hard work will always prevail over deceit and greed. And as I move forward, I carry that lesson with me, knowing that integrity is the cornerstone of a meaningful life.